So this is Dan of Vagabond Awake, and today I'm delighted to have Clifton as a guest on the channel because he's lived in Spain for a long time. He spent a lot of time in Southeast Asia, and he's had medical care done in two countries outside his home country. And so we're interested in learning from him what that feels like and what it costs and stuff. Clifton, welcome to the channel.
Thanks, Stan. Super happy to be here. I'm a big fan of Vagabond Buddha. And I've learned a lot watching your channel. So yeah, thanks so much.
Well, thanks for coming on and teaching others. Many are going to learn from what you have to say, Clifton. So, Clifton, your home country is, where are you from?
I'm from the United States of America. I was born in Chicago.
So I want to ask you about some of the differences between the countries you traveled in. But first, I want to ask you, you've had some recent medical care in Vietnam. Can you tell us about that?
I had been in Thailand for coming up on a year, and I felt it was time to leave and, go explore Vietnam. I had heard about adventures on motorcycles, the South China Sea, the kite surfing, and I was like, well, let me get a change of scenery and go over to Vietnam. And so I took a jet, short flight over. I went to My An Beach and My Key Beach, just loved it. It was having just the time of my life. Nice change. And I started to feel a lump in the back of my throat over a couple of days. And so I went to a real friendly place. It was called Family Hospital in Da Nang. And they were super nice, got me in right away. And they looked in my throat and they decided to snip out, looked like an extra tonsil growing in there. I hadn't noticed myself, but they biopsied it. And then I got this email that they biopsied it on Thursday. I got an email on Friday, which I didn't answer. And they called me on Saturday and said, you want to come in for the results? And I said, I'll come by Monday. And they're like, no, can you come in today? I said, okay, I will. So I jumped into a Grab, which is like an Uber. And I jumped into a Grab and went to the family hospital where they had me in a room with two doctors and a translator. And they spoke very carefully. They were very nice, but they let me know that what I had was right tonsil carcinoma and that I was going to need medical care because it was definitely cancer. They couldn't tell me what stage it was in, but they could say by looking at it, it was growing. I mean, that it was there. So they helped me leave the hospital. They helped me walk out because I was a bit shaken. And I immediately, they said, we can treat that at Da Nang Hospital over here. We have an oncology department and we can help. And I said, that's great. And I took the information and I said, thank you so much. I was very nervous. I took a Grab back to my hotel room / apartment in My An Beach. And I thought about it, called home. Everybody in the United States was like, you have to come back to the United States right away. Don't do that in Vietnam, Cliff. Don't do anything. And I thought to myself, I'm going to go talk to this oncologist here first before I jump a jet to the United States. I know how long things can take in the United States. And believe it or not, I was scared. So I went to Da Nang Hospital and the public hospital. There are several, but I went to the public hospital and I met with an oncologist who was very, very caring, English speaking. And he said, well, in order for us to make a diagnosis and a treatment plan, we're going to have to do 6 tests to find out what stage the cancer is in and what we have to do to take care of it. And these were abdominal ultrasound, chest x-ray, heart ultrasound, ENT endoscopy, neck ultrasound, head and neck MRI, multiple blood tests. And I thought to myself, you know how long this is going to take in America for me to get all that done? I was like, this is just crazy. I was like, okay. And he looks at me and goes, now, do you have any insurance? And I said, well, I have insurance, but it doesn't cover this. And I was sitting in his office and behind him was the billing department. And a woman was there, and I know she was overhearing our conversation. And he said, well, what do you have? I said, I have $1,000 to get things going. That's really what I have. And so I have more money and available in credit, but I don't like to spend that. And I really don't like to go under 1,000, but I said, I have 1,000. He said, okay, that's fine. And he looked back at his billing department. They were like, go ahead and take this guy in. So they did all of these tests over the next 2 days. And then I went in to speak with Dr. 𝐂 and the oncologist. He said, he pointed out and very calmly showed me the size of my tumor. He said, this is a 2-inch tumor. This is stage 2. He said, at this stage, it's curable. At stage 3, it will never be curable. It will always just go into remission if we can get it there. And the quality of your life will be changed significantly. He said, I recommend we aggressively go at this tumor right now. And I asked him, well, what does that entail? And he said, well, surgery is out of the question. We normally would do radiation therapy. But as I mentioned, I would like to go aggressively at it. So I'd like to add 6 bags of chemotherapy. So it'd be 35 radiation treatments over 7 weeks, excuse me. It'd be Monday through Friday, weekends off. And then 1 day a week on Wednesday, I'd get chemotherapy. So I felt calm and I said, let's go with it. He said, we can start Monday. I was like, really? He said, yeah, we'll get you right in. And he said, you can pay as we go. And I was like, well, all right, that sounds fantastic. At that time, I didn't ask him how much it was going to cost. I was fearing for my life. And because this cancer, it's not a good way to go. So I called back to my parents and my sister and my brother, and they had all come around to realizing that I had made the right choice. And they were like, go for it, Cliff. Get that done. Get in for treatment. And I was taken to a pretty austere room with 9 other patients in it. That was the oncology ward. When you walk into the oncology ward, it's all brightly painted and everything. So you feel good. But once you get in there, it's a long hallway with 12 rooms, and each room has 9 beds and 1 bathroom, very austere. And you have to have your family come in and take care of you, because the nurses are not going to. They'll do everything but take care of you as far as like food or whatever. You got to change your own bed. And so these things I wasn't used to. But on the other hand, I did have my oncologist very close to me throughout the procedure. I remember the first day I had the radiation treatment was on a Monday, and I went back and I made it into my pool and I swam. I swam a slow 500-meter swim, and I thought that I was going to be able to do this every day. And then on the second day, on Tuesday, I went in for radiation. And then on the third day, it was Wednesday, I did radiation followed by chemo. And I realized that my energy was going down. And so I stopped the swimming and replaced it with just walking. And I also, I hired a person to come and be at the hospital in the afternoon. So many of my compadres in my room, in the room where I was receiving chemo, had family there. So I hired someone, and it was inexpensive. It was good for them. They spoke English pretty well, and it was nice to have them there. I felt very comfortable. So I went through the first 6 weeks, and everybody's experience with radiation and chemotherapy is different. So I'm not going to go into the details too heavily, but it did get more difficult towards the end. And my oncologist was with me almost every day. Sometimes he'd leave and go to another city and then come back. And I was constantly using WhatsApp to stay in touch with my family. And as I spoke with my mother, who was a registered nurse for years, she was mentioning how if you're really seeing your oncologist almost every day, that's spectacular, Cliff, because he helped me through each challenge that I had. And there's a lot of challenges in the 6th and 7th and 8th week. For me, it was I had a fungus infection of my gums. I had to use synthetic saliva. My saliva glands stopped working. It was throat cancer. And I had fatigue, and that's where it's down to cellular, where you're not getting energy from your food. So they had to keep me on IV before and after the radiation treatment. And my oncologist was there to assure me the whole time that everything was going to work out. And, you know, I would just wake up in the morning, jump in a grab, go over to Da Nang Hospital, do my radiation treatment, come home. In the first 6 weeks, like I said, I was able to go out, walk around, but the last 3 weeks were real difficult. I would come home and just pass out. I would just stay in my room. And the people at the hotel or apartment complex I stayed at, they were so fantastic. They were just like, you know, do you need anything? Do you want anything? Because they saw like the taped in IV stuff in my arm, and they had asked. As it turns out, in the end, it turned out to be $3,100 for everything. I mean, the entire, all of the medical. But then there's other things that you have to consider when dealing with cancer, which is transportation. And then I was also paying for food. I was also paying for housing. I was also paying for that, like the person that helped me was, I had to pay them. And all together, all my expenses, including hiring help with a qualified individual that had a medical background, it came to less than $5,000 for everything, absolutely everything. So, you know, I'm not going to get a bill in the mail. I'm not going to get it's all done. I did decide to come home and recover at my parents' house. This is week number. Let's see, it's been 4 weeks since my last radiation treatment. This is my mouth where I put it in to help out. But yeah, so that's my experience I had. Now I did check online, and Aftercare, if you look at their website, actually American Life Fund it is, they pull off of AI. Like if you try and Google anything, it'll get like an AI assisted thing. But they all came down with the same estimate, was 38,000. This is for somebody without insurance. Was 38,000 to 175,000, and the 38,000 is going to be for somebody with stage 1 cancer. I had stage 2, so we could imagine that I would be closer to the 50 to 75, maybe even 100,000. I can't be exact. But then there's the transportation, the burden on the family. Is there going to be a caregiver? How much are you going to pay for that caregiver in the United States? And then rent, if you're going to live closer to the hospital. Many people would have to, like where I live here, my parents live in Southern Illinois, we would have to move or rent an apartment in St. Louis to be able to, you know, and that what happens to a lot of people when they get diagnosed. They have to stop working. They have to hire somebody. They have to move closer to the cancer center. It's not always offered by the house. So these are all the things that can add up. And then there's the bills that will come. And I've lived in America long enough to know. So I get my first MRI in a week, and we'll see how good it is. I'm really positive about my whole entire experience with the public health system. The hospital didn't have a big fountain in front of it. It didn't have a private drive. It didn't have a giant foyer with everything, but it did have people that cared, that really cared from the beginning until the end. And an oncologist who was available, caring, English speaking, and with me the whole time. So I really can't say enough about the main hospital.
Wow, I mean, that is mind blowing.
Yeah,
Because
it really is.
I mean, you know, when I left the USA, I had a $10,000 deductible. So just the deductible would have been more in the US back when I left in 2007. And here you're out the door at 5,000, including your rent. I mean, that is life changing.
It is. And they took an aggressive approach immediately. It wasn't, I didn't get a doctor that said we can get you in 4 weeks or something like that. It was, I can get you in today to do these tests. We can start on Monday. We'd like to go with an aggressive approach because it's in stage 2. We're unaware how fast it's growing. So this is really the best option. We can cure it. I was like, I'm talking to the right people and I know it. I just knew it that minute. I was like, I'm going to live. This is going to be cured.
Right on.
So yeah.
So people, and most of the expats I talk to are all talking about how they went to the best Western hospital in their country. And that's what I did too. With the marble floors, and you're alone in your room, and you got, meals brought. And it just looks like you're in a movie or something. It's so beautiful in these Western, quote, Western hospitals in Southeast Asia. But you're not talking about that. You went to the public hospital. Were you afraid were you afraid of that? Because a lot of people would be trying to.
No, I was the only English speaker. I was the only Westerner. I shouldn't say English speaker. Many people spoke English there, but I was the only Westerner in the public hospital. And in my room were 9 other men, all fighting cancer. And there was camaraderie there. We were all, watching each other. We knew what was going on. And many of the families got together and helped each other out. I didn't feel alone. I didn't feel scared. The medical staff was attentive. No, I didn't have a color TV. I didn't. And yes, I had to change my own bed sheet. And yes, I did have to go and get my own pajamas every day. I put them in a hamper, and they'd collect them, and I'd have to go get new ones every day and put them on. Well, I didn't have my own bathroom, but it wasn't a problem. It really wasn't. I actually felt comforted by having other men going through the same thing who were so nice.
I was going to continue and play the second half of this video for you, but I just kind of want to let what you just learned sink in. What he got done and what it cost and how quickly he got it done. And it's really a remarkable story. And it's a story I've known about for years. I've even been in the hospital myself overseas. And now you get a feeling for why I didn't carry insurance for almost 17 years overseas, and why expats who have the knowledge are not spending all that money every month on insurance. But I'm not saying it's for everyone, but that's kind of the thinking that goes into it. Anyway, I'll play the second half of this in a week or two. Just look for Clifton's face, or you can just subscribe, hit the notifications bell, and it'll pop up on the right when it goes live. Thanks for watching.